Alright, we are back, and as you can see, the next map is Neo Electric Circuit, draw leading 1-0 in this best of 3. And yeah, how do you like PvT on this map, Elegant?
How do I like PvT on this map? Well, how I like PvT on this map is I always think it's good for the Protoss to get a relatively early second base rather, a relatively early natural expansion, because it's always very, very tempting for the Terran to look at the map and to kind of think, yeah, I think I could get an early third base here, and to just kind of creep out to that early third, whilst very conveniently forgetting that that early third sits right at the bottom of a big, big ramp, down which a lot of speed outs can come. So I often like it if Protoss plays a slightly edgy game whereby they get a quick expansion and then settle into kind of a 5-6 gate kind of mid game where they get a fair number of speed outs, and then there's a very, very nice chance for a well-timed push as the Terran goes out to that third, which they almost invariably do on this. So I think that's often a pretty good shout as a Protoss player.
See, Elegant, you're too honorable. You see, you're thinking like long-term strategies and stuff. See, when I see this map, I'm like, no ramp, 10-15 gate, baby. Yeah, all day, every day.
Yeah, I can see why you think that as well.
I guess I'm just a terrible person, though. I'm just
No,
Protoss. I mean, what can I say? So,
yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the game. Game number 2 between Draw and TTF. Here we go. Alright, here we are in game number 2. At the top right, as the purple Protoss, we have sas.dRaW. And at the bottom left, as the red Terran, iFU.TTF. And as the beautiful yellow observer, we have SGS Pacifist.
Yes, we do indeed. It's funny you should mention 10-15 gates, because 10-15 gates is one of those strategies which has really fallen kind of out of favor as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't know, I used to do it all the time at one point. I'm sure everyone was doing it at one point, but it just kind of it became very defendable for a Terran somehow, and the Terran had to really screw up for it to actually make any headways at all. I don't know if you've found this at all in your experience.
I think so. I mean, I think it's also, you know, partly map dependent, partly that Terrans have wisened up a little bit. But, you know, I'm pretty sure if you went back to D ranks and just 10-15 gated all day, you could get to like a D+ pretty easily. Because you know what? Not gonna lie, that's exactly how I got D+ for the first time. I literally 10-15 gated every map. It didn't matter if it was, you know, a ramped map. It doesn't matter how good the map was for the strategy. It could have been a terrible map. I was just like, this is the only build I know in any matchup is 10-15 gate. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And you know what? To this day, 10-15 gate is actually still the only build I know past like 20 supply. So yeah. Protoss, what can I say?
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid build, but I don't know. Following it up is always a tricky thing, because if it doesn't get really successful right away, you kind of find yourself thinking, oh, okay, I've got all these dragoons, I've got these early gateways, my economy isn't that great, and so you kind of get stuck in a little bit of a kind of.
Well, it's definitely slightly cheesy because you are cutting some economy in the beginning. So even though it's not technically all in, it's like
it's heavy.
You're in a bad position if you don't do a ton of damage. So oh, looks like a bit of dueling going on here outside the Terran Natural.
I love this because for anyone who doesn't exactly know what's happening, SCVs have a very, very short range, whereas probes have a slightly longer range. And so with some fancy kind of kiting micro using your probe, you can actually kill an SCV, even though SCV has the clear advantage in terms of pure stats. Micro can make your probes super efficient.
Indeed. Of course, there also is the shields that regenerate over time, where SCVs don't heal themselves. So yeah, you can often see some cute little micro tricks like that. I think probes also have slightly better acceleration, so it's easier to like micro them against SCVs. Although on the other hand, SCVs have a little trick where if you spam right click, they attack 33% faster. So
yes,
there's a lot of you see, even Brood War workers, man, there are so many crazy little fun facts about them. It's actually unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's inexplicable. It really is. When you think of all these weird little quirks, you just think, how did that come about? What in the game engine makes that happen? You know, why didn't the SCV attack like that already? Yeah, who was the first person to realize that? It is just absolutely crazy. We saw another one of those cool little tricks. I don't know if anybody actually was able to see it, but in the game of Ariador versus Norgrim, we saw Ariador. There was a lurker which he couldn't see. He dropped one of his own Reavers on top of the lurker, targeted his own Reaver with 2 other Reavers, lifted it up again, and the Scarabs both exploded on thin air and killed the lurker nonetheless, which was burrowed.
I can't believe I missed that. I don't think I caught that on the ops cam.
It was sick stuff, but it's just like one of those crazy things. You just thought, who did that first? And why? Who in the world?
It must have been Reach, man. Give credit to the man toss.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, it probably was a Reach, but Reach definitely has like highlight reels where he does it, and it's amazing. Meanwhile, TTF is scouting like crazy here. He used 2 scouting SCVs, and he's scouting his back here with another SCV. That's like 3 SCVs that are not mining right now. That's pretty expensive this early in the game, actually.
Yeah,
and
especially when you're 2-facking. Yeah, I mean, that's major investment. I'm not quite sure what those 3 SCVs are actually doing to further the cause of the Terran. It looks like one of those SCVs is going to go down. We have the dueling action from Mr. Probe right there, and the Probe does come out looking the superior fellow. Looks like we might actually have that SCV in the back of the Protest base preparing to build something, but I think that's going to be very easily scouted by Mr. Dragoon over there. Not so stupid as he looks. Going to be heading over to kill that SCV. But this is going to be a 2-fac from good old Mr. TTF. So he's going to heap the pressure on right away with the 2 machine shops as well. So this is going to be pretty serious stuff, going for the double tank approach. This can be scary.
This is very interesting. I think you more commonly see just a single machine shop when you see 2 facts with just vultures coming out of the other one. But this kind of thing, he's going for 3 tanks. Oh man, this is actually my favorite kind of 2 facts, because at one point I was like dabbling in Terran. I didn't know any builds, but I heard Artosis talk one time about this rush where you build your second factory when your first factory is 60% done. And then if you build both machine shops immediately, you can get your second and third tanks finish at exactly the same time. And you move out with 3 tanks, and the timing is like perfect. So I was like, wow, you know, newbie little sail. I was like, oh my god, Artosis, you're so cool. So I was like, yes, I'm doing this build now in TVP. So,
yeah.
But it looks like he's not actually doing that. He's building a 4th tank. He's just gonna wait for it. He's actually building a 5th tank. Oh my god, this is like
serious.
Super hardcore 2-factor.
Yeah. I mean, this is serious. I mean, imagine if you're the Protoss and you're kind of thinking, yeah, okay, I've got 5 Dragoons, I'm looking pretty nice, I'm going to be facing down maybe against 2-3 tanks max, and then like 5 tanks come at you. What do you even do? You're going to have some serious firepower to deal with that. We have the robotics facility going down now. The best real chance at defending this kind of thing is if you've gone either for a very heavy goon opening or if you've gone for Reaver. Draw has gone for neither of those, so he's going to be under some heavy pressure very soon. He is going to scout the first tank, but that's all he's going to see. TTF very sensibly following up with the 3 tanks slightly behind, so taking out scouting probes on the way. And look at this Draw moving out with 5, 6, 7 Dragoons. That's no way that's going to be enough as long as TTS micro is on point.
And you know what this looks like? This looks to Draw like a fake double. So it looks like he's doing the very standard 1 factory, build 1 tank, vultures with mines, and a bunch of marines, and you expand behind it. So this is very nicely disguised, although now the probe realizes all the tanks. The thing is, though, that would be very late for an FD push, so I think Draw probably was slightly suspicious, and now he's very suspicious, and by suspicious, I mean he's shitting his pants, because there are 5 siege tanks at his natural right now, and only 6 Dragoons, and he's just walled himself. No, he can barely get him, but he's getting stuck! He's getting stuck on his own wall. He gets 1 Dragoon taken down, and is now getting sieged down. The probes are being pulled back. He's got 2 Zealots. He's got a shuttle on the way, but it's nowhere near completion, and he's definitely going to lose his natural right now. The question is whether the push will be able to make it all the way into his main. TTF, meanwhile, behind this is actually expanding as well, so he's not going all in on the 2-fact. He's going to try and just do as much damage as possible, maybe get a bit of a contain off on the Protoss, kind of similar to what we saw last game, in fact, and then he's just going to play a long game from there. So, you know, this could actually be very, very similar to what we saw already.
Yeah, it really could. Sorry. I love your definition of suspicious. That was absolutely transcendently genius casting right there. I've got to applaud that right there.
Thank you,
and we do have these tanks going to start leapfrogging. I thought they were going to start leapfrogging. It actually looks like they're going to start going home. So TTF deciding he's not going to let what happened last game happen this game. He's just going to back right off here. I think... Oh no, he's actually going to go for the temples. Okay, I think this is quite a sensible decision. He's going to try and abuse a feature of the map, as we all know you should do, especially when you have super high splash damage units like siege tanks in the battle. Very sensibly though. Sorry, go on.
Well, this is very weird. I don't understand the point of this, because he already had a good position at the natural. Why does he actually need to break this down and go in the back? Is he just going to break it down and leave again? Because that would be quite funny. So. He might actually just go home now. I think that would be the best choice, in fact.
Yeah, I think
Alright,
it
which
would.
way you
Or
going?
go back to the natural.
Go back. No, he's going
It's going
front.
up. Okay, this
Alright.
is interesting. I don't quite know what he's hoping to achieve with this that he couldn't have achieved already. He's got a high ground position here, I suppose. And those Dragoons are going to be unable to really do anything, but I don't really know what those tanks are planning.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I thought he had a good position there outside the natural, but now that I look at this is actually a way better position. So you know what? I take it back. This is actually a pretty smart idea that I completely didn't think of. The problem is, though, he's not reinforcing. He's deciding to just stay at home. And the thing is, this is not a bad decision at all because he doesn't know whether Draw is actually going to try and crush this attack or whether he's going to go counterattack. Because it's definitely possible that Draw could send all his Dragoons to counterattack, in which case, if he sent all his units to reinforce, then he might just die immediately. But it looks like he's trying to get some Zealot Bombs over here. The Marines are trying to take down the shuttle. Looks like the Zealot Bombs are going to be fairly effective here. One more tank is going to go down here. And is another tank going to go down? No. Looks like 5 tanks are remaining. And now that all the Zealots are dead, there's nothing really good to drop on the tanks. And then, oh my god, 2 Dragoons, what are they doing?
No.
They're not even being shot, though. They're targeting the Robo. They're targeting the Robo, so they didn't shoot the Dragoons. They do get both of them anyway. But one of the tanks actually died unnecessarily there. Wow.
Yeah, that was intense stuff. So yeah, the Dragoons getting a little bit lucky, but they do manage to grab a tank. And now kind of messing around a little bit with the Reaver. He needs to make that Reaver really count. He needs to get some decent Zealot Bombs on that still Siege tank. He does land one Zealot down, and the Reaver too. He might be able to take out both of these Siege tanks with a couple of well-placed Scarabs. He might lose the Reaver though. No, it looks like the Reaver is going to make it, and he is able to clean out all those Siege tanks. And we do see a very, very interesting situation, similar to what we saw in the last game, whereby TTF now needs to be decisive. And he needs to really make that advantage count because he does have a massively superior expansion timing compared to last time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last game we saw Droll's third was just finished when TTF's was about to finish. But in this case, his is way, way, way ahead. And oh my god, once again, the Vultures don't kill the probe. I don't know what it is. I mean, TTF, he's doing, like, if every time his Vultures ran past the probe, they killed it, his Vulture ass would be amazing. But he just keeps running past, like, probes that he should be killing and not killing them. Like, delaying this expansion is absolutely what you want to do as Terran, but I don't know how that keeps happening. Oh, yeah. Although he has caused a lot of probes to be idle in Draw's main, which is quite funny.
Yeah, look at all of them just chilling out behind the minerals. I think
they're still idle there. Draw moved the goons, but he didn't put the probes back. That's weird.
Okay, so those probes are just having some time off. That's right. And there are these 3 Vultures just sneakily kind of sitting there near the natural expansion, but they're going to be running away. So TTF, he's in a good position, but it's not as good as it, again, might have been. I think losing those tanks really has hurt him quite badly because that's a heavy number of tanks. So right now the supply is quite heavily in Draw's favor. I think it's actually come out quite even, which is weird. I didn't think it would have done.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that TTF has kind of cut back on the units a little bit just to get that super fast 30. He's also adding factories now. So the supplies probably don't tell the entire story here. Although it looks
but he's doing the same thing as he did last game.
That's exactly true. That's exactly true. Although this time Draw does have a Reaver. It's actually running away from the Terran though. I'm not sure why that is. It looked like he was going to go try and harass the back of the natural, although there are plenty of turrets here. If that barracks would just float over to the left a little bit just to give them vision on the high ground, that would be a perfect defense there for the Terran. In the meantime, looks like these Vultures are going to try and sneak in the back, but that has been walled off by these pylons, so not going to be able to do too much there. Looks like he's just going to poke around a little bit and run away. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, even if he doesn't do any more harassment right now, he's still on even basis. He's still got his third base faster than the Protoss. He still did a lot of damage early on, so I think he's still in a good position. And it looks like Draw is going to go for fast Arbiters once again here, getting that Stargate and the Templar Archives. So both players really just sticking to their game plan, not going to try and mix it up here in the second game, although we do have a lot of factories. Actually, wait a minute, is there no armory?
No,
that's very interesting because last game he went for a very quick armory and then went for a very quick 2-1 upgrades, but in this case, no armory and a lot of factories means he's definitely going for a more aggressive mid-game attack here.
Yeah, and this is actually smart because Draw's build does leave him quite vulnerable to a mid-game push because we see only now he's getting his 5th and 6th gateways, so his units are going to be, he's not going to be that low on units, and he's going to have Zealot leg speed, DTs and whatnot, but he's going to be a little bit short in terms of actual pure unit count, and it's going to be a little bit of a while before his macro properly kicks in, so TTF's got to have to try and take advantage of that, and I think he could. It is interesting to see after last game how TTF is still convinced he's onto a winning formula, and is just, kind of really sticking to his game plan. So he must be very clear on what actually went wrong last game. I can only think that he's had a good hard think about that and kind of decided this is still best.
Yep, and looks like we see the 3 o'clock going up now. But you know, the thing is, even if his game plan, you know, was slightly flawed or something, where he wasn't completely convinced that that's the right thing to do, you know, sometimes it's just better to stick with it than just kind of completely changing what you're doing, you know, midway through a series. I think Day9 actually talked. Oh, nice mind drag there by the DT. It's actually still alive as well. But yeah, I think Day9 talked about this, you know, where you know, after the games are over, that's when you kind of reflect on how the games went and, you know, whether your strategy was correct or not. But when you're actually playing these games, you know, if you just decide to completely do something different in the middle of the series, it can often just mess you up even worse than what you were doing, even if it was not necessarily the best plan in the first place. Just because you're not familiar with it, you know, you mess up on your macro a little bit because you're doing unfamiliar things. You know, and just things generally go badly. Meanwhile, it looks like a big attack about to happen here in the middle of the map. There's a Reaver there. The tanks are not sieging up though. It looks like finally sieging is slightly slow there, but there's not enough zealots here for dRaW to really engage here. He's going to try and do some more harassment with this DT. He's going to try and maybe get some mine drags off, but there are no mines here to drag. He's going to get a few swipes off, but should be able to scan that fairly quickly once he realizes that DT's there. There is the scan, and dRaW can have a very difficult time engaging this army. He actually missed his opportunity to actually engage it in the middle of the map where there's a nice open space here. Now he's going to have to kind of fight it head on here in a much smaller engagement area, and that's really not going to go well. Can he get some good Reaver attacks off here? He's got a lot of Zealots coming in actually. The Vulture's not quite in position. It's going to be close. I think the Terran will probably have it though with all the Zealots going down.
Yeah, I think he will. Although, crucially, dRaW has managed to hold on to the majority of his Dragoons. He's only lost 1 Dragoon in that engagement, so beautifully micro there from dRaW. I do like TTF's position still. He's able to continue pushing. He needs to keep reinforcing, though. He's built up a little bit of money in the bank. He's got a few units waiting around his natural as well, and dRaW might actually be able to beat this. He's got a fresh load of Zealots coming out. If he can bomb as well, then he might actually have this engagement and once again be able to pull himself out of a very, very difficult position. Because we can see he wanted to engage in the middle map. He couldn't. He wanted to, but he couldn't. He just didn't have the unit count. He would have ended up losing everything he had. But he might have actually just somehow managed to make himself cost efficient enough. And doing a massive mine drag right here, taking so much damage to all those tanks. He's able to get 3 siege tanks right there with the use of a very, very nice mine drag as well. So dRaW is definitely going to be able to push this back for the time being. Very, very well done.
Oh man, and TTF, I think having similar issues to what he did last game, just really not reinforcing very well here. I mean, as you said, he had a lot of money banked and just wasn't really bringing up the reinforcements that he needed. Really, when you're doing that kind of attack, what you want to do is have all your factories, if not rallied, but at least, you know, you're paying attention and you're spamming Vultures and bringing them to the front, because Vultures have really, really fast movement speed. So, and they also build very, very quickly. So even if your money gets a little bit high because you're not building tanks, it's better to just spam Vultures and just bring them all to the front, because the Vultures are also the ones that are going to get killed first because they're sitting in front of your siege tanks to buffer hits. So if you just keep spamming Vultures and rallying them in, it's really difficult for Protoss to actually deal with that. But in this case, just TTF didn't really reinforce at all, in fact. So really missed a good opportunity there. I think he could have done a lot more damage with that attack. But as it stands, I think he's in a bit of trouble right now. His last few forces are going to get cleaned up. His Arbiter's just here cloaking everything. The Terran forces can't really see anything, and that's going to be it for that first push.
Yeah, the push is done. I think TTF is in a huge amount of trouble because right now he's stuck again, trying to put up an undefended 4th base. Which is never a good thing to be doing. Whilst dRaW has his 4th base very, very nicely secured, plenty saturated already. And so TTF's going to have to kind of cobble together some kind of defense against what is going to be, at least temporarily, a superior army from his Protoss opponent.
Indeed, and it looks like dRaW has an observer outside Terran's Nathor seeing exactly what's going on here. He's going to see these tanks moving over to the 4th. He's going to know that something's over there. Is he going to attack it, though? He doesn't have that many forces left over, actually, after that engagement, and not many Zealots in particular. So perhaps better to just wait a little while longer. He is actually expanding to the bottom right Nathor there, taking his 5th base. So it looks like willing to play the long game once again against TTF. I mean, it worked well for him once already, so why not go again here? And of course, late game TVP is extremely difficult, you know, defending all the recalls and just the massive engagements and all the random stuff that can happen. So yeah, this could be another exciting long PvT. And you know what? I think this might actually be the first PvT. Well, actually, okay. Besides dRaW versus, I guess dRaW versus Poetic was the first PvT we casted, but this is the first series, the first best of 3 PvT series we've casted in the TLS. That's quite exciting.
Is it really?
I think it is, isn't it?
You might be right. I hadn't really occurred to me so far.
We keep getting Zergs, man. We keep getting Zergs.
We do, don't we? Yeah, this has been the tournament with Zergs so far, but all that might be about to change. TTF is still in this. His defensive line is not looking great, but and dRaW is nearly maxed out, so I would kind of fancy dRaw's chances at least having a little bit of a crack at breaking that, maybe in conjunction with recall. Does he have the necessary wherewithal for recall yet? He has arbiters with energy. He must. No, he doesn't have the upgrade yet. Okay, so probably going to be throwing in some recalls as soon as that upgrade is done, and taking a 5th base as well while he's at it.
Indeed, and getting that 2nd Stargate, and oh no, looks like it's an observer. I thought that was a probe at the top left, but he's just checking things out. But he is going to start building some stuff here at the bottom right. That is going to start. That is going to be gateways, of course, because he is maxed now. So that's what he needs: is more bases and more gateways, crucially, so that when there is a big engagement, if he if he loses a lot of his forces, he can remax very, very quickly, especially compared to the Terran. By the way, I love his gateway placement in the main base. It's actually not. You know what? Where's Zimp? Zimp, check the replay. This is actually not Draw's usual gateway placement. Usually he builds them horizontally. Now, I don't know if he's changed this because of the map and there's not enough space for that, but this vertical placement is actually unlike him. I was going to say it looks beautiful, but then I was like, wait a minute. Draw's gateway placement usually isn't that beautiful. So, suspicious.
That's very Hurang-esque.
Indeed. Maybe he just figured out
I think that's brilliant.
Stuff.
Oh, down on the bottom right-hand corner, we have a huge probe transfer going down and a load of vultures. But once again, the vultures just being incredibly slow on the uptake. And it looks like they're all going to be taken down by these massive number of cannons that Draw has built. A few of them going to sneak on into the main, but of course there's nothing for them there. So once again, vultures are kind of dropping the ball. A few vultures heading to the top left-hand corner as well. Where they're going to find a probe, will they be able to kill the probe this time? The probe's going behind the mineral lines.
Dude, it's TTF vultures, man. Of course they're not going to kill the probe.
Hey, no, they might still get...
Oh, okay. They got it. Oh, no, they left the one on the top left, though.
Yeah, the top left probe actually made it. So, once again, the vultures being completely unearthed to the east and now running through Dragoon Fire as well. But TTF has managed to secure another base, although it has happened at the same time as Draw securing 2. So, probably not the best trade for him right there, but... yeah, I can't really see that he's got the wherewithal to be aggressive as of yet.
Indeed. Just trying to poke around with these vultures, but man, I love how Draw, by the way, still has this Reaver alive. I mean, usually by this point it's like you don't actually have that anymore. I don't know. Maybe you can pull off some Stork-esque shenanigans and get some amazing Reaver shots in. Although, actually, now that I think about it, last game didn't he keep his Reaver alive for a really long time as well?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Anyway, it looks like he's moving up to clear up these vultures here. And by vultures, I mean there's actually just one there that's kind of gotten stuck because of the weird pathing on this map. There's a few random mines there, but otherwise Draw has pretty complete map presence, although that doesn't really stop vultures from running around. They are actually the fastest unit in the game. So, slippery little buggers.
Yeah, exactly that. It's interesting the point you make about Reavers, because it's fascinating to see how things change depending on the matchup. I mean, if we were looking at a PvZ right now, we'd be thinking, wow, that Reaver, really, really important commodity. Whereas in PvT, you don't even consider it as really part of the army. It's just kind of a strange afterthought that doesn't really seem to do much in an engagement. It's curious.
That's actually a really good point. Oh my god, hallucinated arbiters. Here we go.
Oh,
here we
seriously?
go. He's going to run the turret line. The turret wall. We're lagging. Holy shit.
Are you kidding me? Okay,
oh no, Elegant can't take it anymore. It's too epic. Oh, it got taken out. It was too good.
my StarCraft literally couldn't handle the very idea of what it was seeing right there. I thought he was going to try a recall, but then I thought it may end up as kind of one of those strange Bermuda recalls over a cliff whereby nothing actually shows up. So I think he made the right choice, although he didn't make the right choice because it couldn't have ended much worse than it did with a dead Arbiter. But now TTF thinking he's going to be time to push, and he might just be right, but Draw thinking the same thing exactly the same time, but I don't think Draw should be moving through this bottleneck right here, despite the huge number of units he has, and running the risk of losing his shuttle at the back as well, and that would be a hero Reaver, a great loss to us all. And trying to go back for the snipe on the science vessel as well, but he's not going to get that. One cheeky vulture just making its presence felt at the natural expansion at the top left-hand corner, going to prevent that base from happening anytime soon. And that's exactly the kind of thing TTF needs to do, just to continue delaying Draw as much as he can while he tries to get himself over to another base.
That is so many siege tanks. Oh my god, this is so scary. I'm not even in this game, man. I'm scared. I am shaking right now. That is so many tanks. Also, I love how he just made a billion turrets here, like he's playing some UMS. I noticed that earlier, and then Draw actually ran arbiters into it. It's like, wow, that is a lot of turrets. But looks like finally the Terran's moving down towards the bottom right here. Broros gonna engage, but it's not a favorable position though. His army's kind of stuck behind this wall here, and he's gonna kind of engage in a bad angle. He is holding back. I like that. He's gonna lead with the arbiter, maybe try and get some good recalls off. Although my recalls on me, it stasis, but he gets EMP'd after stasising just a couple of units. Looks like he does have Psy Storm as well though. Oh my god, he's going in. Is he going to be a recall or a stasis?
Stasis.
He's got one more. Got one more.
Is he going to be using it though? I think he's going to need to use it, and here comes the engagement. It looks like Draw's going to try and finish off the siege tank lines. I think his chances are good. There are not that many siege tanks left, and somehow TTF's army has just been chipped away. I think Draw is going to be able to take this by an absolute landslide. Those stasis have definitely been able to do enough, and the Protoss army is just bulldozing through all that huge number of siege tanks right now, and all that's going to be left is a few small forces that are going to be mopped up. The Reaper is just sitting kind of defenselessly, hacking away at siege tanks as it goes, and actually doing a fair amount of damage. So who said Reavers weren't good in the late game PvT? Who said that? Certainly not I. And yeah, Draw is able to easily finish off this battle with once again some smart micro, some patient engagement decisions, and once again TTF in a rough spot.
Man, TTF actually had a lot of siege tanks that weren't in the main engagement. He just kind of brought them in to reinforce. So I wonder if he had all those tanks in that engagement from the beginning, if it would have gone a little differently. Also, didn't really hit any EMP, so the stasis were really, really effective. He also went up to like 4,500 minerals there for a second. So so lots of kind of little poor things there that all contributed to him getting demolished in that fight. Meanwhile, Jaws has got all these gateways now at the bottom right. He can rebuild that army easy peasy. And things are looking kind of grim now for TTF. He's dropped down to 140 supply. He was maxed before that engagement. And, oh, nice EMP there on a couple of Arbiters, but I don't think Draw will mind that too much after winning that battle.
No, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem at all. I think it's important that Terran only has 2-0 upgrades, so maybe that's why the Protoss army is cutting through his tanks so extensively. I mean, those late armories means that his armor upgrade is actually pretty delayed, so he's fighting against 3 weapons with 0 armor, so his units are actually dying really, really quickly relative to what they should be, and I think that's probably hurting him quite badly.
That is an excellent point. I completely didn't notice that, even though I think we talked about the armories earlier on. But yeah because he went for that a more aggressive mid-game engagement, he did delay the armories, and well, he's paying the price for it now. Hopefully he's still upgrading though. Yeah, he is upgrading out of the 2 armories. He's going to be 3-1 fairly shortly, but that's a little bit too late now. Oh, can we get a good EMP off? He's trying to catch the Arbiter. He's chasing that Arbiter. He wants it. I don't think he'll get it though. Oh, he might.
Although.
Oh.
Might get a high tempo as well.
Oh well.
Not going to happen, but the Science Vessel does survive, so I guess that's something. Although those 2 Arbiters might get a little bit ahead of themselves right here, the Science Vessel might feel tempted, but not going to be any great opportunity for him right there. But I think this is definitely working to Draw's advantage. The longer this goes on, the better he's going to be feeling, because he still has more bases he can take. He's not out of options yet, and he's got all the bases he needs for the time being, certainly as well. And so TTF, once again, is the one who needs to make something happen, and he's having a very, very hard time doing that. He's trying his best, but all he's really got under his belt so far is big pushes. There's been very little in terms of successful harassment, no dropship play, nothing like that, so maybe his ideas are just running a little bit short.
Well, he is making another move here on the bottom right here. He does now have 3-1 upgrades. He needs to get an EMP off. He needs the EMP in this army. There's the EMP. Oh! Great EMP there. Gets 2 of the Arbiters. The 3rd Arbiter doesn't have enough energy anyway, but it looks like the rest of the forces are just in full retreat here. Did not want to engage at all there. A little bit surprised. Looks like he's just having a little bit of trouble with this large army management here in the late game, which, admittedly is extremely difficult here in TvP. You've got all these tanks. Got to siege them up. You got to lay spider mines. Got to EMP the Arbiters. There's just so much you got to worry about here in the late game. And the thing is, he's attacking this direction not only to put pressure on Draw's base at the bottom right, but also to try and claim the 6th block expansion, because otherwise it's very difficult for him to take another base. He's actually managed to float. Oh wow, that thought looks like there might be another big engagement. Is Draw going to pull back? He is going to pull back, but there is actually a hidden base sort of in the top left main where he just kind of floated the command center in there, despite there being cannons here at the front.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm struggling to know really what to say for TTF at this point of the game. He's just looking so kind of thwarted, do you know? He's just, having a really hard time. Yeah, it is quite painful to see. I mean, he's got a decent push scraped together right here, but he's still not even maxed. And Draw is, of course, once again maxed. All those gateways in the bottom right-hand corner are going to kick in just as soon as they're needed, of course. And I think he needs to be able to at least deal some damage to Draw's economy, and he needs to do it soon. Because that bank, frankly, is getting ridiculous.
Indeed it is, indeed. And the thing about this bank is that because he has all these gateways, it's not even actually bad. Normally you say, oh, you don't want your money to get high because that means you have bad macro. But in this case, you're maxed, and if you have, like 30 gateways, he can basically sacrifice his army and then remax in 2 rounds of production. And that's just like impossible for Terran to deal with, because if you can, the Terran's been losing engagements in this game, but you know, let's say he finally manages to win a big battle against Draw. You know, he'll be like, yes, I finally got one, and then Draw suddenly has all his units again, and Terran hasn't been able to recover his losses yet. So it's really, really tricky. I mean, he's finally getting a 6 o'clock base. The top left base was denied by a single Dark Templar, but it looks like, wow, he's actually got a lot of idle SCVs actually off the line just to help buffer these tanks, because he doesn't have enough money for vultures, I guess. I mean, he does have enough minerals in the bank, but I mean, you know, he's basically mined out his original 3 base. He's actually got a ton of idle SCVs at the mineral only anyway, so might as well just use them to help keep his tanks alive.
Yeah, to be honest, you really might. I think the point you made about engagements is really good, and how process can reinforce much faster. And I think that's going to be especially true in TTF's case, because as we've already seen from him, he just seems a little bit slow, a little bit not quite on point in terms of his quick reinforcement, which is really what you need when you're fighting a big engagement. You can't just have big army, big engagement, and then that's it. The engagement goes on for quite some time after the initial flashpoint.
Hallucinations, elegant hallucinations. Where are they going?
Whereabouts? I'm not seeing them.
At the bottom right, looks like they're running around in circles. He's trying to figure out where to go. He's actually got carriers, which I have no idea where they came from. Where the hell did they come from?
Right, one at a time.
Making them from that 1 Stargate. Oh, he's got 4 Stargates in the main. Did not notice that. He's got double upgrades as well. Doing the mass carrier switch late game. Looks like he's going for a recall on the 6 o'clock or something.
Looks like he's gonna work.
Recall! He gets it off. Is he gonna try and snipe the command center? He's targeting the command center with the Dragoons. They're taking it down. Is it gonna be enough? He needs to repair it. He's got, where are all the SCVs? Where did all the SCVs go? They're going crazy. Why are they going crazy? He needs to repair the command center. Is it gonna go down? The command center goes down. The final shot takes it down. The SCV was trying to repair, but it had minerals in its hand, so it was fumbling around. Didn't get it off. And that recall was successful, and of course Draw can replenish those units oh so easily, although TTF is maxed now. If he goes for an attack at the bottom right, it could be successful, but the problem is he doesn't have that many Goliaths to deal with the carriers yet.
Yeah, he doesn't, and this army needs to survive. If he runs into those carriers and loses a whole bunch of his tanks, I really don't think he's got another shot at this. And here come the carriers now. TTF, I don't know if he knows that those carriers are there. He's going to have to try some Desperate Micro. He does have the Goliath range upgrade, so he should be moderately effective against these carriers, and there aren't too many of them in yet. I'm not sure if they're maxed on interceptors right now. He might be able to pick off one carrier straight away right here. Looking weak. The Goliath's not going to quite be able to do it. But this is the first time I've actually felt properly hopeful for a TTF push since he had that first push early on in the mid-game. And yeah, he's looking quite difficult to stop right here, and this is always the risk when you start making characters. Instead, you do have this very notable period of weakness whereby you sacrifice a lot in your ground army, and I think this could be quite decent for TTF.
Oh man, Draw's not even microing the carriers very well, so losing a carrier right there. By the way, TTF, he's got a bunch of SCVs stuck at his back door there, just freaking out on the passing there. They're just running in circles, and that's not what he needs, because his bank has gotten quite low here. He's sub 1,000, which in the late game is very, very low. You can see Draw still floating 6,000 minerals here, which is fine. He's spamming from these gateways, but as you said, this could be TTF's chance here, although some emergency TTs are going to do a little bit of damage. Problem is, though, that Draw's gotten all the top left bases as well, so it's not like, you know, he's short on bases. The critical thing, though, is actually these gateways. If TTF can move down here and kill all these gateways, Draw's production is actually going to be quite crippled, although I suppose Draw will just remake all the gateways at the top left main anyway. It's not like he's short on minerals. But yeah, this carrier transition might actually be his undoing here. He doesn't have enough ground forces anymore, and he's not making them fast enough here, so this bottom right base could actually go down here. The Goliath's going to move in here, snipe down this Arbiter. This is looking a little bit dangerous for Draw, although this carrier count is getting a little bit ridiculous. Yeah,
that's getting quite scary. Those are built up quickly, but oh, he might lose one straight away to those Goliath. He will lose one straight away to just 6 Goliaths, so a little bit of a mistake there from Draw. His carry micro not looking as good as the rest of his game undoubtedly has. He's now going to try dashing out once again. He's got one single speed zealot, not going to be doing too much, but it looks like the carriers will be able to defend off the siege tanks for now, but only as far as the Goliaths. Once again, the Goliaths get in a decent position, and those carriers losing a lot of health straight away. I'm surprised we don't have any science vessels in here to EMP, in which case those carriers would be in a lot of trouble, but TTF is running out of steam here in terms of his siege tank count, but the carriers once again taking a lot of hits, and a lot of them are looking quite weak at this point, so it's still on the edge for Draw, and also for TTF.
I finally figured out how SCVs get into this state. Because he had the 6 o'clock base, but he lost it, the SCVs are essentially trying to distance mine from the 6 o'clock to the mineral-only command center, but obviously they're trying to go to that command center, and they can't because of the building here. That's why they're going on that path. God, because I kept wondering, I was like, why are they going from the outside and not from the inside? But they're trying to return cargo to that command center. And if you guys didn't know, neutral buildings like this don't actually register for pathing. So basically, the SCVs think that there's no building there, but when they walk there, there is a building there. So they're like, well, shit, now what do we do? And then they just have to like run around in circles.
Yeah, they do, and it's another one of those weird quirks, I guess, but it looks like Draw getting his carrier stuck in a little bit of an unfortunate position there. He loses 1, 2 carriers. He can't afford to lose many more, or his force is going to be severely crippled. He is still being able to deal damage to these tanks at quite a quick rate, but he's going to lose the natural expansion down there, and this is really quite unexpected. Where is TTF getting this momentum? He is rock bottom in terms of his minerals right now, but he is still actually managing to put out Goliaths, and he's still actually in with a shot here. Draw coming in with so many units from his natural expansion, though, and TTF is going to have a seriously hard time holding on against this next wave.
I think one crucial thing here is also that the Goliaths are 3-2 and the carriers are 1-1, and that plays a huge role because Goliaths get +4 damage per 1 attack upgrade against air, which is absolutely huge and necessary against carriers because Draw's carrier, you know, he's still in the middle of his carrier switch, he's still upgrading from those double cybernetic scores. The 2-2 is actually about to be finished, and that's going to actually play a huge part here, but it looks like, oh man, we could have a big engagement here. The carriers, though, still not able to do too well here. This isn't particularly a carrier map, in fact. And oh man, is he going to lose another one here? There's the scan. It looks like he targets down 1. Is he going to get another one? He does get another one. Is he going to get a third? Is he going to get a third? Oh, one more shot. He needs to scan. He's got no vision. He's got no vision, and the carrier survives with 8 HP. And it does survive, and now all the tanks are just sitting ducks here. Oh god.
Yeah, this is nasty for TTF. He's going to lose the remainder of his tank count. Well, a couple maybe going to escape, but honestly, these engagements are really, really hurting him. He's been able to do some economic damage. He should be running vultures in there right now. He should be trying to take anything he can get because that's a largely undefended base. If he had a good number of speed vultures, then he could do that. But he simply can't afford even vultures at this point. He's having to pump everything he's got into replenishing his siege tanks and his Goliaths. And now the carriers are heading on over there, killing the engineering bay. There are relatively few, but there's only 1 missile turret to defense, so that's not going to last very long. And TTF is going to have to be so cost efficient.
He actually has dropped below 100 supply for the first time in like 15 minutes or something. So so this is really, really looking grim for him. I mean, Draw's still maxing out. He basically, even though, you know, it looks like Draw's in a bit of trouble there, he just had so much bank that he could just keep spamming units and doesn't really care, you know, about losing economy, about losing a base. I mean, what's one base when you have like 12, you know? So, yeah, this could be the end here for TTF. Oh man, getting stormed into oblivion, carrier storm, an ultimate combination here against Terran. And I think these carriers can just focus down this command center or something and basically end it. So. GG from TTF. And Draw takes the series 2-0.
Yeah. And that was impressive stuff from Draw. And TTF, it did seem better in game 2. I have to hand it to him. He did make a much more of a fight of it. But again, I think he fell down at the same points. I mean, he had a good start, didn't he? He managed to get the successful push, but then he kind of didn't reinforce it, didn't commit to it, and kind of lost all those tanks a bit cheaply. And it was just a bit indecisive again. And then he just lost steam as the game went on. Never had the economy to win.
I completely agree, man. And you know, he was even in a better position than he was in game number 1. But I mean, you know, late game TVP is just undeniably hard. I mean, I can't really fault him for it. You know, TTF is definitely a great player, but it's just one of those things, man. Late game TVP, it's ridiculous. Only Flash can do it well.
Yeah, it's tough, undoubtedly, but I don't know. TTF just seemed to manage to land himself in these positions that were much harder than they should have been. Somehow, and Draw, of course, good enough player to take advantage of that. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I think TTF would have done well to have more than one kind of strategy available to him after the way game 1 went, to be honest.
Yeah, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe if that mid-game push worked out a little bit better, maybe he should have just done like a 2-base complete all-in and just gone for it, like pulled half his SCVs and gone crazy. Because the late game is just a bit too hard, I think. Yeah,
he really seems to have a great grip on it. I think what you said might be right. I mean, I know it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but a big kind of mid-game push might have been really the way to finish it, and he kind of did that. But again, didn't quite seem to have the level of commitment that you need. You need to have complete faith in your strategy in order to see it through, and he just didn't seem to have that.
I mean, look at every time Boxer alled in, right? He pulled half his SCVs. That's what you gotta do. You can't just half-ass it. Don't keep mining. When you go all in, you go all in. Anyway. All right, so the next series we're going into is going to be our first semifinal match. So we're finally going on to the semifinals. It's going to be a ZVZ of course, because it's the TLS. We're going to have some ZVZs. It's going to be 0 versus South Park, 2 Polish Zergs. So we'll bring you those games after this commercial break. See you guys in a bit.